So, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Zdvisor. What a comeback in the market from 22,182 to 22,782, a 600 point comeback in the market. This was probably one of the biggest comebacks, like this year, of course, and even in the last year. So, to decode more about the market, we have a SEBI registered research analyst with us, Mr. Arjit Garg. Arjit, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ripradaman.
So, Arjit, please tell us what happened in the market, what was the reason behind this such a big recovery?
Right. So before we start with what really happened in the market and like why we were up today, do you remember we discussed something that yesterday that today was a major announcement that was supposed to happen morning around
At
6:30.
6:30. Yes.
Everybody across the world, all the markets, everyone was expecting that there would be some de-escalation attempt by DJT, and they would be maybe they would pull out of Iran, or maybe there would be something around de-escalation. But it turned out to be the exact opposite. He insisted that the US will not pull out of Iran before the end of April. The war will go for another 2 to 3 weeks, and for any country that is facing issues who do not want to maybe support United States, they can very well go ahead, like join Iran, and like they can continue their oil supplies from Strait of Hormuz, but US will not back them. So these were some of the major statements that were there in the morning call today. So that was a very big negative because everybody was expecting, okay, things are now going to settle down, maybe thankfully something might good happen, but that did not went very well. And that was exactly why we saw a around 2% gap down in the market today. Yesterday as well, I told you that open interest data is showing us that there might be something negative for today. We might, maybe if we see a good up move, there would be some down move movement because there are people who are selling their put options. They're selling their call options. So people really want the markets to stay under pressure. They want the markets to stay low, and exactly that happened. Markets did open low. Markets, it's Nifty. If we talk about Nifty, it opened at 22,395, and we touched an intraday low of 22,182. Now 22,182, if we just scroll back, this is the same level from last year, 7th of April. Yes, see,
Okay.
8th of April, my bad. On 8th of April, that is also a historic day. That was the day when Donald Trump introduced tariffs on all of the major countries, and India was also tariffed at, I guess, around 100%. So on that particular day, we hit a low of 22,182, and around the same levels we have retested today in today's market, and that was the exact low. 22,182 was the low that we touched today, and when he say we see that a very sharp recovery was there in the market. All the gains have been wiped out, and we've closed with gains. Losses were wiped out, and we have closed with gains of
Yes.
0.15%. Now, what's important part is not that we closed with gains of 0.15%. The important part is जो 2% का लॉस था, we covered that loss and then we closed in positive. So net अगर हम लोग देखें तो the gains were around 2% because we closed the loss and we closed in with gains. So awesome movement. Now this entire movement, these four candles, green candles that we are seeing now, these green candles, ये कुछ नया नहीं हुआ मार्केट में. There was no new news. There was nothing which would support this. It was pure technicals. This is something that we call as short covering. When people they
Okay.
exit their short position, and now they're like, okay, they're tired of shorting the markets, and now they want to exit their position. There were no fresh longs in the market during the day. Open interest suggests that कोई नई long position नहीं हुई. Nobody purchased calls. Calls also closed with a loss today. Put options also closed with a loss today. But the market was positive. So what really happened? People exited their short positions. That is what this is exactly what we call as short covering. And see, RSI में अगर हम लोग देखें तो we were already almost around the oversold zone. We were close to it, around 30, below 30, sometimes below 30, around 30. That is the oversold zone. Oversold zone में जब short covering आई, that is when we saw a huge movement in the markets intraday. So Nifty है तो Nifty तो we closed with gains of 0.15%. If you look at Sensex, the other benchmark index that we track, the same thing happened there as well. We opened at 72,068, a little more downfall during the maybe the morning session. The first 2 hours we saw a more downward movement. We touched the low of 71,545, and then whoop, what a strong short covering that we've seen in the market.
Ajit, you had also mentioned that tomorrow is a market holiday, and today is the last trading session for this particular week. So that's why maybe we saw a lot of short coverings as well.
Absolutely. Today was the expiry for Sensex as well. So people who
Correct.
trade
Yeah.
Sensex, or people who maybe they're watching Sensex options, today was the expiry for Sensex and the last trading session for the week as well. So tomorrow is holiday. Now this is good and bad on the, like, not bad, but it's good and risky on the same time. It is good because for people who have been seeing that the market is falling, it's good for them. Okay, fine. For the next 3 days, markets won't fall. Thank God. But it's risky if you're taking any fresh trades. So what usually a retailer would do at certain point, at right now, especially now when the markets have closed in positive, after say, I believe it's more than 10, 12 days that markets are finally closing with gains during the day. So usually क्या होगा, a retailer would think कि, okay, the markets have turned positive, bottom has been created, let's buy it right now at this point with the next resistance. Now, that guy that would not realize that tomorrow is a holiday. Saturday, Sunday, so by default, it's a holiday. So it's a long weekend which is coming up. And what can happen on long weekend? Anything can happen on a long weekend, especially when the war-like situation is going on, where every day there is something new happening. Someday the US says that we are entering with ground troops. The other day Iran says that we are starting a nuclear war. The other day they claim that they have eliminated Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, anything can happen. And during the day when you're trading the markets, you can maybe manage your positions. But on a weekend, especially on a long weekend, you cannot do anything with your positions. You cannot edit it, you cannot modify it. All you can do is just pray to God that please Monday ko meri position safe rahe. So that is why long weekend hai. Don't go for any fresh positions right now. As we've been shouting from past 1 month, please avoid any overnight positions. But I know बहुत सारे ऐसे होंगे जो, like, the धुरंधर retailers who are like,
Mhm.
okay, I really want to take some position right now. For such people, if you want to take positions, fine. You're doing a very high risk trade here, but do only option selling in index. Don't go for stocks. Why? Because anything, if any news comes in and the markets, maybe agar market niche gir gaya, stocks will fall faster than the index. Why? Because stocks right now are in a condition where their beta is higher than the index. You can take any stock, just go to any random website, or maybe if you know how to calculate beta, you can just take out their fundamentals, calculate the beta, and you'll see that the stock's beta is more than the index. So if any negative news comes in, the stock might fall even more. If any positive news comes in, even then, if that news is not positive for that sector, for that stock, then the stock will anyways fall. तो अच्छी न्यूज आई तो भी गिरना है, बुरी न्यूज आई तो भी स्टॉक को गिरना ही है. So that is why it is safer, comparatively safer, to trade indices. वैसे तो avoid overnight positions, but अगर आप ले भी रहे हो, then do only option buying. Another reason why I'm stressing on option buying at certain such point, because we will open on Monday. Tuesday, 7th of April. 7th April is again a holiday. It's a expiry. 7th April expiry hai, which means if you do any option selling based on the news, your theta decay might or might not come. But any major news that comes in with option buying, you can trap that, you can get track all of the movement that is there, that would come in that particular strike price on that particular option. That is why option buying is comparatively safer than option selling in such markets. Option selling karoge, if the market news comes negative, the put options would spike, call options might or might not decay. अगर अच्छी न्यूज आई तो पुट ऑप्शन, you don't know whether it would decay or not, because OI both at both the areas on call and put, both the areas call अपना open interest is high. So that is why move ahead with option buying, avoid option selling. If possible, avoid trading this market as a whole. We'll look at Monday if for any fresh trades. Maybe if there's any fresh setups, we already have a lot of experts. I am personally there on Zdvisor's Kazi by Zdvisor's app. We are constantly there to tell you what to trade, when to trade with proper durations, targets, stop loss. So all the updates would be there on Z by Zdvisor's app during the intraday movement. Until then, avoid any fresh trades. Trust your experts. Experts are there to help you out.
Got it, Arjit. I actually have one interesting question. Now, if you're telling today's recovery is purely based on the short covering, do you think there is still a lot of downside pending in the market?
Absolutely. To defend that, I can also show you the open interest here. If we click in OI buildup here, now this OI buildup tells you on which strike price call and put both. On which strike price is short covering coming in, or there's a short buildup, or there's long unwinding, or the OI or price is just unchanged. Now, the point where the price remains unchanged, those are the most illiquid options. Just to simplify, illiquid options matlab the options which are not being traded a lot. People are just simply ignoring it, right? So those ignored options are where there is no change in OI and there's no change in price. Now, what we have to focus on is short covering, short build-up, long unwinding, and long build-up. These are the four important things to remember whenever you trade options. Long build-up, matlab people are buying long positions. People want that particular maybe call or put. They want that particular thing to rise. They're doing long build-up. They're purchasing it. They want the prices to increase. Short build-up, matlab people want the prices to fall down. So all the red colored things that you think see here for all the puts, all the calls, the extremely red colored ones are the short build-up. Matlab, people want that maybe say 22,300 put option, the prices should fall. 22,300 call option, the prices should fall. Right? But अगर दोनों जगह short build-up है, that this creates a confusing situation. This is when you enter the open interest and you actually analyze one by one each strike price ki, okay, what exactly is the lot size right now which is in the open interest in that particular call option or in the particular put option. So that is why combining all of this data tells you where exactly will the market head. Now coming back to your question, is there a downside that we are seeing from here? Well, I cannot say that exactly downside आएगा या नहीं आएगा, but what I can guarantee is अगर market ऊपर गया, if the market maybe if it enters 23,000 or maybe 23,500 or maybe अगर 23,000 तक 500 तक नहीं गया तो 23,300, anything above 23,000 the markets might not sustain it because the highest call writing that I'm seeing here is at 23,000. Especially in the next five strike prices, the highest call OI is in 23,000, which means market जैसे 23,000 पे जाएगा, suddenly there are call sellers who will pull the market down. And नीचे जैसे ही आएगा, नीचे you are seeing the highest put OI is 22,500. So we are exactly in the center right now,
Mhm.
22,750. 23,000 and 22,500. This is the range that we have to monitor carefully. Now, if something bad happens, we already have our levels marked 22,500. We have marked it from what, like more than 1 week now. We already have 22,300, 22,100, which was retested again during the intraday movement today. So these are the three levels on the downside we already have. 22,800 is somewhere close that we tried to test today, but we could not reach 22,800. But 23,000, as per open interest, that this is an important level that we have to watch in Nifty for the next week.
Got it, got it. Arjit, can we also look at global equities? How are they performing today?
Sure. So if you see that the European market is under pressure, we know why. We have discussed this. Global markets are under pressure because nobody expected that things would escalate. Everybody was hoping for de-escalations. Yesterday we saw that markets were positive. Global markets,
Correct.
CAC 40 was 2% up, DAX was 3% up, FTSE, the UK market, they were also around 1-2% up. Now all of their gains are being cooled off. The markets are basically cooling off. They're like, okay, we did not expect this to happen. So what do we do? The markets would fall. Another reason behind the market fall is the rise in Brent crude. Now, if I would just load Brent crude oil here, yes, look at this. The huge spike which has come in, and this huge candle came in at 6:30 in the morning as per Indian timing, and the press conference of DJT was at 6 a.m. Within 30 minutes, we can be seeing it spiked from 102 to 108 within a matter of hours. Not even 1 hour. I believe this less than 1 hour. It's a 1 hour candle, but this
Yes.
movement was within 1 hour. And then we are seeing that the oil is constantly rising from 101 yesterday's session. When we closed it, the oil was around 102, 103. It fell during the night's evening session, was at 101, and now it is at 111, above $110. Now I would like to reiterate, rising crude oil is dangerous. ब्रेंट क्रूड बढ़ेगा तो हमारा क्रूड बढ़ेगा तो इंडियन मार्केट्स पे प्रेशर आएगा, तो मार्केट्स विल फॉल डाउन if this keeps rising. Let's quickly look at Indian crude oil futures as well. You're seeing the same structure here as well. We do not, our markets do not trade in 6:30 in the morning, right? हमारा market तो खुलता ही 9 बजे. जैसे ही 9 बजे हमारा market खुला, we saw a gap up in crude oil futures here. And Indian crude oil MCX is also rising. Now, to compare like exactly where would the markets be, where would the crude oil go, we compare it with USD INR, right? We discussed that last week. So if we just compare the USD INR with Brent crude, we might get even more clarity around what can happen in the markets next. So we're seeing that Brent crude is increasing, but USD INR is falling. Now, a falling USD INR is a good sign. It tells us that okay, USD INR, the currency, at least currency depreciation nahi hoga. So that is one part where we are safe. But the risk is still there that the crude oil is increasing. Now, this again, this is giving us mixed signals. So crude is increasing, USD INR is falling. Open interest is telling us that the markets will fall. So if we connect all the dots, we can still see that there is a negative bias in the market. The news sentiments, all of the triggers that we have, everything suggests that there might be a little, markets might be under pressure on Monday.
Understood, understood. Now, can we also look at the commodity markets as well? Gold and silver, especially, since we
Sure.
covered crude.
Sure. So let's really look at the gold futures, the MCX futures. Now, a very interesting thing that is happening in gold. We've covered this in multiple sessions before as well, but it's interesting to talk about. Like, I wish I could talk about this in every session, because the interesting part is the war is escalating every day, but gold is still not performing. If you see that the recent movement that we've seen in gold, the gold when it touched 130 on 23rd March, which is last Monday, everybody was panicking. Everybody was like, okay, what is happening? War is escalating, gold is falling. इतना क्या प्रॉफिट बुक कर रहे हो यार, कि मतलब they are just selling like there's no tomorrow. From there, we are almost 17 to 20% up now. If we compare it from last Friday we touched a bottom of 139, and till now, okay, maybe if we just not just consider today's prices, if we consider till 1st of April, which is yesterday, we are still 10% up in gold. And now, as soon as the escalation came in today morning, we saw a gap down, and then the gold is falling again. Why? Because profit booking is kicking in. Everybody wants to, maybe usually they consider gold as safe haven. They want to purchase gold, but now in such situation right now, the things are moving the opposite way. People are selling gold, they're booking profits in gold continuously. Now, another perspective to this, like just to recheck if our theory is correct, if our analysis is correct, if you just visit any of your local jewelers, now this can be done by anyone, especially our users. It's a weekend. Just randomly go to any jeweler and just ask them, how is your sales going on? Like, are you doing good? माल बिक रहा है, नहीं बिक रहा है, एक्स्ट्रा है आपके पास, like how is the market going on for you? Every jeweler would complain that people are not buying jewelries just because the gold price is rising. Gold gira, it fell till 1,30,000 for 10 grams, but even then people are not ready to buy their jewelries. And this is a big negative because wedding season is coming back up. I believe April end or May, April season would start again. This wedding season would start again. And when wedding season starts, that is one of the golden period for jewelers. Like, they just milk it the best way. Like, every family, they want to buy maybe rings, they want to buy jewelries, or they just want to buy gold to maybe invest or gift it to someone. They buy biscuits, they buy uh, their gold coins, they buy it and they gift it to others. But in such market scenario, that is not happening. Now, this is not just like, I'm not just talking about it to waste time. We have a theory which connects this to all of the jewelry stocks. The stocks like Titan, stocks like Kalyan Jewelers, you'd see that all of these stocks, they are also under pressure. Why? Because their sales is affected. Okay, maybe you would say Titan is not just into jewelry, they also sell watches or maybe some other things. We can look at Kalyan Jewelers as well. Kalyan Jewelers is also under pressure, right? So all of these jewelry stocks, they are also under pressure because the commodity is not able to perform very well. Now the same thing that we saw with gold is happening with silver as well. We see a huge
Yeah.
down move in silver. It trades around 22 lakh 28,000 for 1 kg. Now, same logic. Just because gold is expensive, people are not purchasing gold. The same reason why people are not purchasing silver, because it's too expensive. They just, and on silver, there's one more thing: the government is not allowing you to sell silver. So if you have bought, say, 1 kg silver for investment purposes, maybe you bought it last year at say 1 lakh something, 1 lakh 50,000. Now maybe you want to book profits, you want to sell that silver. No jeweler is ready to buy back the silver because the government regulations have, maybe they've stricted, they've got stricter. Government does not want you to sell your silver. Maybe whatever the reason behind it be, maybe. But silver buyback is not available in the market right now. Even if the jewelers are buying it, they're buying it at market price and at way below the MCX prices. So silver investors, they are kind of trapped right now. I feel like they're trapped right now. But for gold investors, I believe you still have to wait for the war thing to get over. Jab tak war is there, I believe the volatility and the uncertainty would be there for the gold and silver markets.
Got it, got it. Arjit, I think today we covered all of the major markets. Do you have anything else to add on top of this?
Just one thing that I'd like to add, that for retailers especially, like if you have to cover the major mistakes that retailers make, don't think that a single day's positive movement is a reversal or it's a sign of market bottoming, especially in such scenarios. See, there are two things that you have to watch for the market going forward, like be it the long weekend or maybe if you're watching it on Sunday, just waiting for the markets to open on Monday. There are two important things that you have to watch. First is crude oil movement. Crude oil, we have already seen Brent crude is at $112 now, low or $8 per gaya. So now it is 112. So you have to keep watching crude for where it goes. If it goes up, the markets might stay under pressure. So first thing to watch, what is crude doing? What is USD INR doing? Right. Second thing, you have to wait for any, like not wait, but you have to watch for any uncertain events which are happening. Uncertain events matlab, any major events or any major announcements that come across on the weekend, like you have any announcement by Donald Trump on Truth Social. Like, see, he is one of the most uncertain guy right now. Right now, I'm not saying always, but right now, anything can happen. He can say maybe we are invading Iran, we're doing a nuclear war, or maybe we are shutting down everything and all the countries are allowed to take crude from Strait of Hormuz. See, if tomorrow Iran and US over the weekend, if they get into a peace deal and they're like, okay, we are opening Strait of Hormuz, but just because the markets were positive, you went, you thought, okay, यहाँ से market गिरना चाहिए, you took a put option. जैसे ये news आएगी that Strait of Hormuz is open, Monday market will be gap up 1,000 points. What would you do in that case? Your position is trapped, your capital is wiped out now. Or maybe the second scenario where you are like, the market is positive, let's buy a call option. I think the market would keep on rising. In this case also, if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, the markets will stay under pressure. Or maybe some new negative development happens. You have the call option with you, but over the weekend, if something negative happens, the market will fall down. What happens again? Your hard-earned money, your capital is being decayed. So that is why avoid trading such overnight markets. Don't do such markets over the long weekend. avoid any overnight positions, and just stay in touch with your favorite expert on maybe apps like ZBuy's advisors, and just wait for us to give you the signals. We are experts. There's a reason why we are an expert. So let us give you signals, let us tell you that this is the right time to buy, and then you can successfully make money out of the markets and not blame the markets like it's a gambling game or not.
100%, 100%. That is why, a lot of people generally think that they can learn the markets on their own, or they can trade their on their own. But with slight expert advice, they can get the perfect trading edge they were missing previously.
Exactly. Like the point comes down to the same thing, right? If you a lot of people, they whenever they renovate their home, they hire an architect. For painting, they hire a specific person to specifically paint that wall. आप खुद क्यों नहीं paint करते? Why don't you paint your house on your own? You cannot do that, right? But then how do you expect to trade in the markets without learning it? Like wall paint करने के लिए you will, or maybe for pharmacy or for any other activity, you would spend particular 2 3 years learning that, spending time in colleges learning that degree. But you don't want to spend time to learn how to trade the markets. You don't want an expert to help you trade in the markets. That doesn't make sense, right?
Correct, correct. Makes sense. We're closing this off on a very good note. I hope everybody implements that, and I hope they download Z by Zdvisor and connect with experts like you.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yes, great. Then thank you so much, Arjit, and thank you everyone for joining in today.
Thank you.